Wow, I've just had a big sip of water because it's going to be a cracking show on the Monday Night Live, especially after a Sunday, which we'll all remember, January 28th, 2024. Just mark it down wherever you are mentally, physically, if you're a test match lover or not, because I'll tell you one thing, that is here to stay. And so are we on the Monday Night Live. Dan back in. I'm nearly messing up my words because I'm looking at myself with an England jersey. Can't believe my eyes. But there we have it. They go 1-0 up. We'll talk about that. I don't know why I'm holding it like a DJ, but let's bring the boys in right now when I adjust my hair set. Nikhil Popa, how are we?
Just trying to decipher what has happened, how it has happened, in whichever emotions and feels. I think for some reason this loss felt far worse than any of the other knockouts. I know it's not a comparable in terms of losing to England or losing to Australia in the WTC final or in the World Cup final, but this just feels very very hitting. Again, it doesn't hit emotionally because we've all probably gone out of that phase, but in terms of a shocker, this one's a proper shocker in terms of you could not see this coming.
You were talking about the Gabba result.
Of course, what else happened?
Look, Akshay, let me come to you because there's so much to chew into in this Monday Night Live. Like there's always on our podcasts and podcasts or wherever you guys are hearing or listening this to. I just want to get and ask you, what was the biggest moment for you this weekend? Was it the tennis? You could be honest.
Shamar Joseph. Of course, it's Shamar Joseph. Can't sort of look beyond that. I remember how I reacted, when he took Hazelwood's wicket. So we were in the office, we were watching the India and England game, but of course, because we work at cricket.com, we were watching the Australia West Indies game as well. Oh man, the elation just to see, that raw emotions, of all the West Indian players, of Brian Lara, of Carl Hooper. It really got me. So yeah, that was definitely my highlight of last week.
Absolutely. Let us know in the comments what your highlight was. It was an upset in terms of weekend. I was hoping that United didn't get beat. They didn't get beat. And as usual, the comments are packed with the guest popping on. And that's, of course, evident in the thumbnail and the titling. We're getting Graeme Swann on in just a bit. And we're going to pepper him with some questions. We'll, of course, ask him yours to get chatty. And that is how it is. And my darling sister just got me some popcorn to munch along. So get your snacks as well and be absolutely doing what you do in terms of interacting with us on this particular platform. Now, before I get the boys in, I have to talk to you about what's going to be in store this Monday Night Live. Now, we spoke about Swann popping in. He will. There will be, of course, a little teaser of a Nikhil Uttam Chandani. And, of course, I'll get that name right as long as we go along kindly, but he will shed some light on Shamar Joseph. He will, of course, give us a little glimpse of how the atmosphere at the SA20s and lots more. And not to forget, in the best of the rest, we'll be talking about various things, including heroes and zeros from the SA20 and, Shoaib Malik, the fixer. Right. So enough of that and enough of everything else. Let's get straight into it, boys, because what transpired earlier today was some crazy news. It gets worse for Indian fans. Jadeja and Rahul out of the second test. And we'll kind of reflect that right now in terms of that squad because it just makes you think about who features in it. And we'll get that up right here, right now. But what I've asked the boys to do prior to the show is name me their 11s for the second test. So let's go in alphabetical order. And I'll start with Akshay here then. Akshay, this is what you've conjured up. Tell me why and what is your reasoning?
To be fair, I would love to see Rajat Patidar, but I genuinely think Sarfraz Khan has done enough to warrant a spot straight away in the 11. And also, it does make sense that they've called in Washi and Sarfraz as their replacement, so I expect those two to come in straight away. This is more of a hopeful 11, so to say. This might not be the 11 that the Indian side might go with. This is the 11 I would want them to go with. And yeah, I've stuck with Siraj. I want to give him one more test before sort of being sure that, okay, this guy has to face the axe. I know he's not really been at his, consistent best, so to say. So because of that, I would also understand if they would go with Kuldeep ahead of him. But for now, I would stick with him. Washi comes in place of Jadeja because of that left-handedness and also the batting ability that he brings in. And also, Sarfraz at number 5, Sarfraz would add more value. Rajat Patidar is more of a number 3 batter, so to say. That's how I'm trying to justify it. But yeah, simply put, I want Sarfaraz Khan in the test side.
Okay, good shout. You heard it here first from cricket.com. Nikhil, where do you disagree with him? Because there's some interesting names you've thrown into your 11.
I mean, the only bone of contention there is the order of their picking. Uh, I would love to have Sarfaraz too, but I think Rajat Patidar, because he made it to the side first, I think he'll probably get a first go at this, and Shreyas shifts a spot above. The rest, I think, is similar with that one change of Kuldeep coming in for Siraj. I think the logic and the only logic that I have there is if you're not going to use Siraj at all, I would rather have those overs done from Kuldeep so that at least there will be a few more chances created as opposed to using Siraj very defensively or in a role that he may not always be best at doing. So again, it is of course has to be doing with how the pitch is. So in that order, four spinners, one pacer, and enough all rounders to so that I hope Sundar also stays fit because I think this could be a long haul for him if he gets going. So hopefully that is the case.
Interesting. I like your selections, guys. Even I'm going to go with my 11. And I know some people might be furious seeing Mukesh Kumar's name there. I'm going for him purely because I think the Vizag pitch might do a little bit. Coastal, you never know. There's a couple of cloud cover on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm just taking a punt. You look at also this particular depiction. Now, this is Mukesh Kumar's wickets in Test cricket so far. And you look at that length, and that's what I'm talking about. Around the wicket to maybe Ben Stokes or maybe, different plans like that. I know essentially people are thinking, and like Akshay pointed out, you give Siraj a longer rope, but this is why I've had him in my 11. Essentially, I agree with Nick's in terms of the makeup of that batting lineup, but let's see how it really unravels come Friday. We'll of course be doing reviews for that, and kudos to Akshay and Gurkirat and Nick's for shedding light on not one, not two, not three, but 4 days, nearly 5 days as well. And you guys can go check that out on the cricket.com website. As you can see, lots of fun videos over there, including what was it all India in 1981. David Gower tells us more in that Life and Pictures episode, along with Darren Goff's bowling masterclass. So honestly, English royalty with that regard. And speaking of English royalty, we have to, of course, get the man on because I'm talking about an absolute sensational legend who joins us right now. And I've prepared a little introduction. So here we go. Graeme Swann is back on. And essentially, he's been an old friend of the channel. He's a man who took 28 wickets in 6 tests in India. 20 of those came in that 2012 series. He's, of course, a man who won that series in India. And not many can say that. A man whose off-spin baffled the best. I'm talking about Dravid, Tendulkar, the lights. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Northampton and David Ginola lover, Graeme Swann. Swanny, how are we? Nice to see you again. And how's the hangover after a heist in Hyderabad?
Well, exactly. I'm in Ahmedabad at the moment, so there's no hangover here. As you well know, this is a dry state. But I'm here with the England Lions, and we absolutely loved every minute, obviously, watching our main team come back from the brink of disaster and somehow managing to win that test match. I don't think there's been a better win for England overseas, to be honest. I think that's right up there with India's win when VVS Laxman followed on and got 200 against the Aussies for test matches that you have no right to win and end up winning. That was certainly England's best, I think.
Yeah, we'll get cracking with some of the questions. And I know we have you for a short time, but we really honestly appreciate this, especially I, because I've been a really keen observer of you. And right now, just for the unknown, what are you doing in Ahmedabad? I know it's England Lions, but just shed a little bit more light of that because you're wearing a pretty cool Hawaiian shirt by the looks of things.
Yeah. Well, this is actually, I don't know if darts is very big in India these days, but darts is huge in England, and it's not long after the World Darts Championship. And so the England Lions are having a darts night tonight. I've actually left them to it, and I've just come away for 15 minutes, and I've put someone else in charge. So it could have all gone wrong because these young kids, I tell you, they have no idea about life, no idea about touring, about how to do a good social night. So I've left Dan Mousley from Warwickshire in charge, who, by the way, listen out and watch out for. Dan Mousley is his name. He is the next superstar of English cricket. Give him 3 or 4 years, and he will absolutely blow your mind.
Absolutely. That's a name to, of course, remember. Also, one thing is our correspondent will be heading towards Ahmedabad to get cracking with some of those England Lions over there. So some written features coming out on cricket.com as well. Right, before I let Akshay and Nikhil get into the thick of things, I just want to ask you your quick opinion of what you made in Hyderabad, because it swung like a pendulum. But at the start of potentially day 3, did you still give England a chance, or were you modest and kind of hiding?
I was modest and hiding, I must admit. I knew they had a chance if they got a decent lead. I was thinking if they could get 150, 160 ahead, then they had a slim, but they had a chance of winning. As it was, I mean, getting 230 or 240 ahead, that was ridiculous. You got to say Ollie Pope was the last person we expected to score runs after that first innings, obviously because he was out there for the shortest amount of time. So we didn't really know if he was in good form. But he was brilliant in that second innings. And it often takes that in a test match, in a huge game like that. One person can make such a massive difference. You know, that one guy who gets the big 100. You take those 198 runs out, and India walked that test match. They absolutely cruise it. But thanks to Pope's magnificence, it gave them, let's face it, 240 or 230 on that pitch. You should always win when you've got 3 or 4 spinners, even debutant spinners, even young spinners, but not taking anything away from the English spinners because they were sensational. I've done quite a bit of work with Tommy Hartley, and I just texted him the day before saying, just enjoy it, mate. Let the pitch do everything. Play with a smile on your face like you do. And don't try and bowl any magic balls because the pitch will do everything for you. And coming back from where he got panned in that first innings because India targeted him, rightly so, a new spinner, you always target. I thought that was one of the greatest comebacks. So kudos to him as well. Everyone's saying England won't get carried away, but I know for a fact they did get carried away last night and really enjoyed that win, and so they should have done.
They absolutely deserve it. Stokesy, indeed. You spoke about the pitch there, Swanny. Akshay Patel in day 3 versus England, first test 2024, and then Ravindra Jadeja in day 3 versus England, first test 2024. How do you assess this grouping, and what did Jadeja and Akshay do wrong compared to Hartley? And pretty much, I know Leach didn't bowl that much, but Hartley essentially in that second innings, from a spinner's point of view.
Well, from my point of view, you see those pitch maps there. Axar and Jadeja are normally 2 of the greatest spinners in the world at bowling at the stumps, at hitting the stumps. And if you look at those beehives, they just started creeping towards the offside. One thing that happens when the ball is really turning, you can end up worrying about pitching the ball outside leg stump if you're a left-arm spinner. I believe you still have to pitch the ball on or around leg stump. So those ones you see just drifting towards the edge of that beehive, that should be your norm. You always want, if it turns across the batsman, you always want it to hit that off stump. Take the dismissal of Barrett right near the end of the game. That is your ideal ball. If you start to not quite control the spin, when it's going that much, it's very difficult to control it. But if you're missing the bat and the stumps a lot, it's not as hard to bat against. So you've really got to hone in. I think what Hartley did brilliantly in the second innings was just really bowl very, very straight. It wasn't until quite late in the game when the English spinners got tired that they started going wider and wider. And when you looked at it, look how easy it was for numbers 10 and 11 to then start creeping close to the score, even though they were trying to whack it. But then they get a few away on the offside. So the straighter you can bowl and bringing those stumps into play really is a massive thing. But I'm not going to have a go at Axar or Jadeja because they're both brilliant bowlers. And I thought they bowled quite well. Sometimes you have to doff the cap to the guy who got 198.
And that man who made 196, correction, used a lot of this. Essentially reverse sweeping, which is fast becoming a shot. They played 53 all in all, my stats man tells me, in that test match. And do you think that was the difference between the two sides? Because I don't remember, even though I was at the stadium, Indian batters reverse sweeping, barring 2 from Rohit Sharma and KS Bharat quite a bit.
No, it's not a shot that Indian batsmen typically play because they're such good players to spin normally, and they play the normal sweep and tend to play very straight. So it's not a shot that's sort of in the repertoire, in the longer form of the game. They can all play it, and they're all very good at doing it. And it'd be interesting to see whether moving forward in the series, whether they start doing it more and more because of what Pope did. It's a risky shot. It really is when there's turn and there's bounce. If you really commit to the shot that Pope did really well in doing, committed completely, you can, you get some good runs. It is still dangerous. You can still get caught. But yeah, it was just one of those times where he decided, no, we're completely behind the 8 ball here. We're so behind in the game. I might as well try it. And sometimes they're the little parts of the game that lead you to suddenly discovering something. You go, hang on, this is how we should play. So I think it was more by more luck than anything else. England found themselves in that position where suddenly they found how to play well. And you've got to take your hats off to the English batsman, or Pope in particular. He was so brave in that second innings. Some of the shots were crazy. And I don't think there's ever been anyone to play such a shot so close to a double hundred in a test match, trying to ramp one of the best bowlers we've ever seen over the slips, who also bowls 95 miles an hour. I mean, that is bonkers, but that's Bazball.
Absolutely, and I just think it's bold and having your cojones in your mouth at times when you're doing those things out there. Right, do you think the England team is on its way to repeat the 2011-2012, saying sports fan? There are more questions trickling in. Cricket.com saying, Swanny, still miss you at the dugout. My father loved you the most in the dugout box. And plenty of love being showered Graeme Swann. And why not? But boys, crack in right now with a question each, because there are a couple that I have to take from the comments as well. Akshay, I'll start with you. What do you have for Swanny?
Hey Swanny, first of all, big fan. I'll never forget the 2011 IPL auction. Random again. I remember just begging RCB, please go for him. I just a 13-year-old kid wanting to see him.
So was I.
Unfortunate. Loved your bowling action. For some reason, just couldn't get over it. Loved imitating it. Couple of questions for you. Firstly, Shubman Gill, of course, he's not had the greatest, he's not been in the greatest of form of late, especially in red ball cricket. Right now, he averages about 20 against slow left arm spin. And we saw how he played against it, getting beside the line of the ball, and he tends to sort of prod forward. Like, if you were sort of, say, coaching, Shubman Gill, how would you look at this? Like, would you suggest him to sort of play a bit more on the back foot? How do you look at how Shubman Gill's been playing slow left arm spin in particular?
Yeah, well, that second innings when he was caught pushing forward and the ball just sort of, well, it didn't loop, it went quite quickly. It was a very good silly point catch. But that just shows that the batsman's reaching for the ball. He's not letting it come to him. He is someone who moves his feet a lot. So you could say, look to play on the back foot, but his strength is getting forward. It's just how softly you can play with your hands. So this happened in cricket. It's a very tough game. You could be in the best nick ever and look back to Shubman Gill just before the World Cup. Was in the form of his life. Everyone thought that he was going to be the guy who, lifted the cup for India until the dengue fever hit. And then all of a sudden, he's never really recovered. But I'd say to him, you've got to try and find a way to make him relax and make him back with softer hands. And so we can see some of those knocks like we see in the IPL when he's very relaxed and he's attacking. That might be the way forward for Rahul Dravid, to say to him, look, don't worry about defending. Be more aggressive. Play like you do in the one-day game. And back, whack yourself back into form, being more, more willing to use your feet, more willing to use those hands, hit over the top. But I'm not a batting coach, but he does look like a guy at the minute who's just slightly tentative. And there's nothing better, especially for a spin bowler, than a tentative batsman.
All right, thank you. Just one more question. Sorry, you mentioned Dan Mosley. I'll also sort of take a bit of credit selfishly. I did name him, in my players to watch out for at the ILT20. He ended up, of course, now coming here. A 22-year-old youngster. He's already been in the 100. He's played the PSL. He's been a part of a bunch of tournaments across the globe. Who other players would you suggest, to watch out for? There are a bunch of players right now, a bunch of youngsters with you at the England line setup. A few more names if you had to drop some.
If I had to drop off the top of my head, I'd go Mousley. There's a guy called Ollie Price, who's a top order batsman, very classical English type top order batsman. However, brilliant at playing short bowling. Might not be someone who you see too much of in the subcontinent, but definitely down under he'll play. Bowls a bit of off spin as well, so I'm very biased. Graeme, we've got, Rue, a guy called Rue, who's a left-hander from Taunton, from Somerset, who is a very, very good player. He's only young. He's 20 years old. He's got about 6 first-class centuries last season. Very good player and keeps as well. So look out for Rui. And then there's guys you'd have heard before, Potts and Fisher, seam bowlers. A guy called Laws coming through from Surrey as well. I mean, I mentioned a lot of names because they're all very good cricketers. They got humbled a little bit this week by India A, who was superb. Yeah. But there's some good names coming through. But if I had to put my hat on anyone right now, it would be Mousley.
All right. Thank you so much, Swanny.
Nikhil, your turn. Go ahead.
Your turn. I mean, that is something we'd all loved when Swanny bowled. So, yeah, we're all those bowler FCs there. Just one great points, of course, as always. I wanted to pick your mind on the pace at which Hartley bowled. He said it in the post-match as well that he slowed down to pace. He was bowling in the 90s in the first innings when he was attacked, but in the second he dropped it down to 84 around. But the Indian pacers, the Indian spinners in Axar and Jadeja, they still bowled in the higher 90s. So do you think this adapting to this in itself tells a lot about Hartley's skills? But how much do you think is this down to the approach of the Indians? Because I felt because India attacked him in the first innings, he was probably bowling a bit quicker. But in the second, because they were a bit cautious, it allowed him to get himself, and the vice versa for England. That England went after India, so the Indian spinners
Yeah.
also bowled too quick.
I think the big thing is when the wicket is turning excessively like it is in the second innings, I would always try and bowl quicker. I always think the quicker you bowl and make the ball spit and turn, the harder it is to bat against. I think it's more the line that the Indian bowlers bowled second innings than the length or the speed. And for Hartley, I mean, all he did was try and bowl the same in the second innings. It may have come out slightly slower, but he bowled a lot straighter. If you look at the start of his Test career, bowling at Jaiswal, who, by the way, is one of my favourite players very quickly of all time. I think Jaiswal's brilliant. It's not just because he's a Rajasthan Royal either. The way he attacked him, it was all, even though he was coming round the wicket, Hartley, he was bowling very wide of that off stump for Jaiswal. So he was able to just fetch him from outside off stump, over deep mid wicket, or drive when he overpitched. I was screaming at the TV, somebody talk to him, tell him just to straighten up, because he was actually bowling pretty well out of his hand, but just not the right line. They've obviously sat down and talked to him. And Ben Stokes captained him brilliantly, by the way, keeping him on, not letting him drop his head. And they've just said, look, this is all you've got to do is get your line sorted out. So, yes, people will say, well, we bowled too slowly in the second innings or bowled too fast in the second innings. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they just bowled a little bit too wide, didn't hit the stumps as often as they did in the first innings. And trust me, when they get it right, when the Indian spinners look at their beehives and look at where the balls ended up and they make the tiny adjustments, they're going to be deadly.
Yeah, it just makes you think how it all unravel. And speaking of that, I just want to ask you, because there's so much talk about Test cricket and how you kind of resuscitate it, and we'd love a cracking result. So ideally, Swanny, would you agree when I say this? England go 2-0 up in Vizag, have a great time there, and then Virat comes back and rejuvenates the whole of the country, and India turn around 3-2. Would you still be happy as an Englishman?
As an Englishman, I'll be devastated if we go 2-0 up and don't win the series. But like you say, from a Test cricket point of view, that would be phenomenal. In fact, when you look at it, on the very same day, two underdogs have won Test matches in places where no one really gives them a lot of chance to win. And let's face it, England are the underdogs against India in India. We only have to look at last time and the first innings, and you think that is a great underdog victory. Although now they'll be seen on a level footing. But the West Indies beating Australia as well. Has there ever been a sweeter result? Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Joseph, if he wants to come to England, he can be our new king. And we'll kick Charles out and Joseph can sit on the throne, because that was incredible to get 7 for against the Aussies. So I think it's brilliant for Test cricket that two great Test matches, even though India were on the losing side, the crowds were sensational, getting a lot of people in through the gate as well. So I think Test cricket is the best form of cricket. Everyone who plays Test cricket still agrees with that. I know that. So I think it will be good. As long as the players coming through still want to play Test cricket, it will be strong. If everyone just wants to line their pockets and play franchise cricket, then it might struggle. But I think for the short-term future, it's in good hands at the minute. And England playing their Bazball has done a lot for the game in our country. So hopefully other teams can follow.
Okay, super. I know I just have 5 minutes left, so I'll just take a couple of cracking questions from the comments then. We'll just jump straight into it. Shubham Chaturvedi saying, Swanny, do you think Kuldeep Yadav can be given a chance replacing one pacer?
You know what? When I saw Kuldeep come on as 12th man near the end of the innings with his bib on, and like talking to the bowlers, I was on the treadmill. This was killing me, actually. I went on the treadmill and I thought, I'm not going to get off until this Test match finishes. And it went on for about an hour longer than I thought. So I was dying on this treadmill. And I saw Kuldeep and just thought, thank God he's not playing. Because he is a guy, because he's that left arm and the wrist spinner, we can't pick him. Or we could never used to be able to pick him. It'd take a long time into a series before we'd get on top of him. And I just thought to myself, I'm glad he's not playing in this game, because I think we'd lose. So hopefully, from an English point of view, no, I hope he doesn't play. But from India's point of view, I would definitely look to squeeze him in, especially if Jadeja can't make the team. I would look to get a left arm wrist spinner in.
Okay. Now, both your mates, Harsha Bogle and Kevin Peterson, were at it at the TalkSport.com box with that whole debate. And Darshan points it out. Where do you sit on it? What's your stance? Should it be allowed for someone to bowl left-handed immediately, even though it looks impossible? You think of it and you're like, how is he going to do that without telling the umpire right arm over or left arm over? So where do you stand in that?
You know what? I never thought I'd agree with Kevin Peterson, but I really do on this one. I think so long as the LBW law changes, and then if you switch it, the ball pitches, anywhere, and you can be LB, I think it's fair enough. If you're willing to take that into account, right, I'm going to switch the other way around. Now the ball is live for an LBW, no matter where it pitches, outside leg or off stump. I think it's fair enough. I can see Harsha's point, because, as a bowler, you have to tell the umpire if you're going to do something. But I think it's been brilliant for the game, honestly. It's still very dangerous. It's still a very, very highly skilled thing to do. It's almost impossible for us bowlers to try and do. So if people are good enough to do it and get away with it and make it a run scoring, it's just another facet to their game. And it's something that the spinner has to then try and combat. So I'm not against it. I love Harsha to bits, but I don't agree with him on this point.
All right. And finally, a couple of two then. And Ramnakaran, really quickly then, Swanny, when will England find the next Swan/Treadwell, or have you already?
Treadwell. Oh, I miss Treaders. Let me tell you, James Treadwell is one of the nicest human beings I've ever known in my life. What a great bloke. The next Swan or Treadwell, I tell you what, if Shoaib Bashir ever gets into the country, if he ever gets past passport control, he's good. You'll enjoy him. He's tall. He's very thin, just like you. Very tall and thin, long fingers, gets good bounce, good turn. He could be your brother, actually. You look very similar in many ways. So he could be your brother from another mother, as they say. But he's a very good bowler, gives it a good bit of turn. And now we've seen what Tom Hartley's done on debut as well. That will take a lot of the nerves away if he does play, because he realises now, well, I don't have to do anything different from what I've been doing before. So I look forward to it. He doesn't bowl anything like me. He's very different. He's a different shape. He bowls it from about a foot higher than I did. But he gives it a big turn, and he's a lovely, lovely kid. So I hope he gets a game.
Okay, release point was a word that, of course, was described to get Hartley into the scene right now. Right, final one, some cheeky comments as well. Showers out of stock and Vizag. I don't want to go there and ask Swanny if they're going to prepare rank turners so that they can come back into the scheme of things. Do you think, though, that will be the case?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I can see exactly why India prepared that turning pitch. Or not India, why the groundsman was asked or why he prepared that pitch. When you look at the last tour and that last test in Ahmedabad, here where I am, on a wicket that was similar to the one they've just played at, England had no idea. They had no answers whatsoever, and got hammered. And so I can understand why Akshay would come back in the team and you'd look to play on similar pitches. It has backfired slightly on this occasion because it does bring a more inexperienced spin attack into the game. It does level the playing field a bit. I heard Anil Kumble after the game saying surely the better bowling side would take wickets on a better pitch, which I agree with, actually. So I don't know. I think India are caught between a rock and a hard place now. Do you go on a massive turning pitch again and risk the same result? Or do you say, no, that Pope innings was 1 in a million. He's not going to do that again. And we're going to go for it. So it's a very tricky one. Personally, I love it when there's pitches like that turn square. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. The bounce was very consistent all through that test. And so if the bounce had been inconsistent, then it's a bad wicket. But the fact the bounce was consistent, I love it turning square from day one. At last, there's something for the spinners.
Okay, and you need a damn good wicketkeeper. You had one back in the day, Matt Pryor, of course. Now, speaking of wicketkeepers, Anirudh Kasargod quickly asking you, hi, Swanny, do you think KS Bharat is a bit too silent behind the stumps? As a wicketkeeper, do you think he should be more proactive?
You know what? It helps you if you've got a keeper who's constantly chirping into the batsman's ear and annoying the not talking at the batsman, but just constantly buzzing in their ear, because it can get some batsmen to play false shots. But I think KS Bharat is a very, very good cricketer, very fine player. Until he got out, India were winning that test match. It took an absolute peach to get him out. he was the one I was worried about. So when he went, I thought that's the game now. I wouldn't worry too much about Chaos Barrett. He's a wonderful cricketer.
Yeah, it's very unlike for a subcontinental keeper not to be chirpy. You look back at Mohan Khan, Kalavarthana, and Rishabh Pant in good times
Well,
as
PP,
well.
he never shuts up.
Good old PP. You're in his city, so you should be careful. Right, Swanny, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate you joining us on this Monday night. And good luck with everything England Lions. Now, there is a stupendous stat, as you can see. Did you know Graeme Swann had a wicket in each of the 11 innings he bowled in India? Now, mind you, this is the longest wicket-taking streak for an England bowler with at least a wicket in the country. Who else? Adil Rashid and Tony Locke bowled 8 innings with 100% records. So thank you.
Well,
for,
I'll
of course,
take that. I didn't know that, but I'll take that.
Yeah, kudos to the stats man. A shout out to, of course, Anirudh for
Yes,
providing that.
is.
Brilliant. Swanny, good luck, everything.
Thank
and
you,
hopefully
Swanny.
and Newcastle
Thanks,
in the
guys.
FA Cup, they should have a great run.
How are
Some
the lads?
silverware.
How are the lads? See you soon,
Perfect.
guys.
Cheers.
See you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
What a legend. What a legend. Honestly, Monday Night Live keeps getting better and we keep giving. Boys, how much did you enjoy that? How much did the guys in the chat enjoy that? Let us know. Like this particular video, because I'm telling you what, we are growing from strength to strength in 2024. We've spoken to some amazing people on this Hyderabad trip. There's going to be some great West Indian cricketers, some New Zealand cricketers, and there's going to be a brand new property as well. Lots to be excited for, of course, in cricket.com. Great edition of Swan, this time saying sports fan. Thanks, Swanny. Swanky, you have long fingers. Rowan Patel saying that. Yeah, I mean, essentially, I don't know. Let me know in the chat if I do look like Shoaib Bashir or maybe not. Maybe the nose, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. We can really debate as we go along. Right. Akshay, Nikhil, and me haven't really spoken about what we think, given the fact that this test match has ended. I just want to ask you guys, where did India lack that vigor to win the game? Was it with the bat in hand when they had England's foot in the throat? The fact that they could have actually got 600 nicks. There were a couple of poor shots. It's well documented right now, even though it's about 24 hours in. Where do you think India could have been, more cutthroat? And did you think it all came down to what we've titled the show, the fear of failure?
A fear of failure with the ball also is what I feel is a potential reason, because I feel if you have a side 163 for 5 with a lead of still 90, with a total of 190 in the first place, there's still 30 runs to go. And out of those 5 wickets, one of them is a guy who's injured, may not come out to bat, make whatever that is. For you, with your best possible bowling attack, to allow them to go ahead and score 260 more runs on that kind of wicket, I felt was where the game was completely gone. In terms of, you would still say that India should have chased 230, but my point is it should have never gone to that stage. I mean, this is not a bowling attack where I can say that, okay, this is foreign conditions and pacers are taking time to adjust to the lens. This is India. It's your home ground. And you had them on the mat, as you said, in the first innings. Yes, that 190 could be 250. But the way they bowled and the approach of the fielding and the tactics and everything together, I think it was a collective failure with the ball first, because you allowed them to just get away with it. Yes, he dropped a catch, but that catch drop came even when he was on 110. So that also came a long time later. So I don't think India can always keep waiting or take first games, first balls, first tests as trial balls, as opposed to the baseball that happened. You can't keep waiting for things to happen and think that, okay, yes, there are a lot of talk that Pope was lucky, but then you've said that for Dean Elgar, you've said that for Aiden Markram, you've said that for Travis Head. If it keeps happening, then you have to really be more prepared. I don't think India were as prepared, and India went into a complete shell in the second innings, a complete contrast to their first. So I think the fear of failure is definitely there with the bat, at least because you've seen that far too many times, that whenever there is slight hint of pressure, India's approach being let's err on the side of the caution. You see that with the selection as well, and it's just bizarre that I can't get my head around. I don't know why I feel not chasing 230 is still a lesser crime as opposed to conceding, so many. Conceding 400 in third innings in India. no matter the opposition. See, I'm not saying disrespecting Oli Pope here, but I'm just saying I expected far more of Ashwin, Jadeja, and Axar.
Yeah, absolutely. Something for India to think about. It was, in fact, Ashwin and Jadeja's 50th test together. Didn't go according to plans. And Ashwin, of course, still has that chance to get to 500. Akshay, I want to ask you. I'm thinking about adjectives like lackadaisical, maybe even complacency. And do you think that resonated in Rohit Sharma's body language as a captain? Because we're so used to Virat Kohli being the vociferous leader, wearing the heart on the sleeve. How did you kind of put it down to? Do you blame Rohit like that? Or do you think, you know what, Rohit has this under control. It's a long series. Let's not really jump at him.
It's almost funny because yesterday I was on the other side of this asking the very same question to Nikhil and Gurkirat. Now I'm being asked the same question. But that sense, yeah, it's a very thin line. I don't know because I also sort of subscribe to the school of thought where, to each their own. Virat Kohli is wired differently. That's what gets the best out of him when he's, at his aggressive best. The same cannot be said about Rohit Sharma, so I wouldn't put that against him. But I'll definitely still say that, what I saw on the field, especially in the second innings, seemed a bit too complacent. Because I'm not just referring to the dropped catches, the field settings, the way they were bowling, it almost seemed like they were just waiting for the eventuality that, boss, Oli Pope to out ho gaye, वो आउट हो जाएगा, हम लोग बॉल डालते रहेंगे तो वो आउट हो जाएगा. And they were just waiting for that to happen. It didn't seem like they were trying to get him out. And that's where it sort of really, and that's the point that really got to me, so to say, because again, when you have the likes of Axar, Ashwin and Jadeja, third innings mein conceding these many runs, I agree with Nikhil bhai, and I'll go on to say that, boss, this is a crime. It's not like this was a flat wicket jahan pe ball ghum nahi raha hai, there's no turn on offer, there's no variable bounce on offer, none of that. Despite that, if they're not able to capitalize on this, then someone has to be held accountable. Now you can sort of have your say. Like, I mean, you can have your pick who should be held accountable for that.
Look, all I'm saying is there's different ways to skin a cat, and I know you know the phrase of cricket, but essentially you look at Virat Kohli and how he was as captain, and I'm not saying that was the best tactic, but it did give Indian fans results to celebrate upon. Nikhil, on Rohit Sharma, the test captain, it's often that we're kind of using the words and phrases that we used with MS Dhoni, the test captain, letting the game drift. Do you agree with that?
See, again, it is something that you can definitely say, okay, when away touring, you felt that MS probably had lesser control, but I would not tell it in exact sense because the bowling resources are better. MS having an undercooked bowling attack, which not always has the best possible resources, as opposed to now, when you're playing at home, I don't think India. So the two tests is probably the back-to-back test that India lost in 2012 is probably the only time that I remember MS losing at home. So Rohit already has two test losses. Is in Indore and one is now here. So I feel at home with this kind of setup and with this kind of resources, it feels an even bigger problem to cater to as opposed to back then. But see, letting the game drift is a very thin line because if you see, both teams did what they know best. One team wanted to be proactive, wanted to be aggressive, they stuck to it. All of us were discussing the same thing on the first 2 days that okay, maybe far too much is being given to Tom Hartley. Itna bowling mat do usko. It's not the best way to go about a debutant, but for them to pull that off, sticking to their strengths, it worked for them. India thought, okay, we'll also stick to the plan that we know. We'll stick to the plan A's, plan B's, but it did not work for them. So I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, that it is a prerogative on Rohit, Rahul, and everybody involved. And it is something that I mentioned in the review as well. I will say that okay, the captain is responsible, the coach is responsible. But at this point of time, I feel if Ashwin, Jadeja, and Axar, with the experience that they have, if they still need inputs from the captain and coach, I feel there is a problem. So I would not only blame the people in charge, which you feel that of course you have to ask them the questions, but I think the bowling also needs to own up because it's becoming a pattern. Okay, you take the first test to warm up to the challenge, and we'll see this in the next test. In the next test, they will have better fields, they'll have a lot of plans to reverse sweeps and all. But did you not expect that in this one? So that is my problem. That yes, you can question Rohit all you want about tactics, but then can't Ashwin say or Jadeja say that I don't want these many fielders at the ropes? Get me inside. So it's not about, as Santa Duque is saying, I'm not sliding away from the question. I'm not saying that he's not aggressive. But the point is, it's very easy to sit on the outside and feel that he's not doing how we expect him to do, maybe from the lens of a Virat Kohli. Or how, sorry, the casing is completely distracted me. But so the point is, you can't compare him to any other captain. All I want him to find his own way. Okay, right? You find your own way with the help of the best resources that you have, as opposed to what maybe MS had in the past. So not comparing them in any order that in that way.
Okay, food for thought that. And Shubham Gupta says this, and he also said this earlier. Obviously, we wouldn't be discussing Rohit's captaincy right now, but we have to because that's how the game's unraveled. And it wasn't just if Axar and KL took those chances. We're seeing it, of course, in past examples as well. Nikhil stated that in South Africa, and it just makes you think about how that'll all unravel. Thinks about Rohit's fitness as well. It's a 5-match test series. I watched him closely in terms of just being a first slip and mid-off. And speaking of fields, Jaideep going on to say, what do you guys think of placing a fielder behind the keeper for Pope? Of these things you can't control because Pope continued to play scoops, and was there no option for unique field for sweeps? I mean, it was also not played every now and then. He tried to use it, but you can't sometimes set field for that. You can, and I know what Ben Stokes was doing because I was honestly paying attention with how he was being so nitpicky about his field bearings. And I say that because every single ball, guys, he was like 3 centimeters wider, telling either Duckett or Wood or Rian Ahmed to get their position spot on. And it doesn't really catch the viewer's eye when you see it on TV, but when you're in the ground, you can really see it. And those are the fine lines which make captains have such a huge impact in the game. Akshay, please come in.
Yeah, just one thing. I do agree with the point. I forget who made this. Of course, whoever comment you displayed now. If a shot is being played 53 times in a test match, surely you can set a field to that. And this is where proactive captaincy comes into picture. I'm not putting this against Rohit Sharma or anything. But we need to understand, ki boss, clearly he is trying to play behind the square on both sides. You can't not, I mean, have someone there. I mean, I don't want to say this is probably captaincy 101, but अगर कोई मार रहा है एक जगह पे shot, तो आपको देखना पड़ेगा ना how you can try and curb that. Either you bowl differently so as to ensure he doesn't play that shot, or set the field accordingly so that you increase the risk involved in playing that shot. अगर आप दोनों नहीं करोगे तो खेलता
And
रहेगा.
this is exactly what I think Dravid said in the post-match conference. In the next test, we'll look to make it difficult for them to execute them. So, but it is something that you can say the very thing even now. Why were you not ready? And
बुमराह से सीखो भाई, वेट मत करो, जल्दी सीखो, जल्दी.
see, my only answer to that is everybody is not Bumrah, and it just tells you how far. Or again, this is where you probably say that it's more reactive. You know, Rohit and Rahul are far more reactive as opposed to others who had their own ways of getting things done.
Also, just about Rahul Dravid, the coach, right? I want to ask you guys, what do you guys make of his sort of role right now? Not just because we lost. I'm just asking you because would he be fuming? Naturally, he would. But does Rohit and Rahul both take the blame together? Does it more often fall on the captain's head? Lots of people are chatting about this in social media and in circles right now. For the benefit of the viewers, guys, can you just tell me where you guys sit on Rahul Dravid as Team India coach?
Yeah, as I said just a while back, I'd feel both are equally responsible because, see, there are times when you feel this is a captain-led side. You felt that with Virat. You felt that with MS. Enough times, this is a team that is led by the captain. He's probably the one who's taking the final call. With Rohit and Rahul, because you have also seen them skip a lot of series, not being part of setups, you feel it's a combined effort because, I mean, Rohit, when he captained the WTC final, that was his first overseas test as captain. So it is telling you that the plans are there in place. They are being executed on the decision making of both of them. So I think they are both very equally responsible. The one thing that I feel I'm very, very disappointed from both of them combined together is the lack of intent under pressure. Something that I said just a while back, something that's the headline, that's the fear of failure. That come the knockouts, come the big times. When you want to win those moments, it's at that point of time where I felt they've both waited. They've both waited for things to happen, and that is, I feel, not fair or not reflecting enough in terms of uh, I don't know how else to put it. Kyunki how else do you explain not sending, say, a Sky in the final, or you say, okay, you sent Axar Patel, great, but then what was the intent there? I felt if Axar has come in, maybe he'll play some shots. Or if Jaiswal and Rohit are batting, one of them will look to take the attack to the opposition. So, but that did not quite come off. Gill also, I mean, Gill to got out even before he got it. Shreyas are playing defensively. Now, somebody is talking there, somebody is passing this message, and that's what I feel is the responsibility of the coach and the captain, that you go and give them the freedom. That don't worry, you play your natural game. There is no point for Shreyas to defend. That's not what is he in the team for. So, Malak, that is what I feel is probably my biggest irk with them. They haven't been aggressive enough or been very, very reactive to things.
Yeah, some of the guys in the comments being rather vocal about their feelings about Rahul Dravid, and really appreciate all your comments on this Monday Night Live. Shubham Gupta, you're getting chatty. I understand you think we're making it a Rohit Kohli thing. It's not, but look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I agree with you, I disagree with you. Gupta, stop defending Rohit Singh unknown all of a sudden. And many people, of course, having their opinions. K-Singh being cheeky so far today. I love it, K-Singh. Klopp is available in the summer, just saying if he fancies a career change. But just to finish up on this whole Dravid point in this India-England chat before we move on to the rest of the best and the best of the rest. I messed that up. Rate Rahul Dravid, the test coach, out of 10. And I'll come back to that. And yes, I'm wearing an England jersey just so you guys can be more interactive in the live chat. And I know it will, of course, make a few fingers go on the keyboard. So look, I won the battle there, Superhero Rises. So in your face, not mine. Just joking. By the way, so with Rahul Dravid, Nick's just mentioned it over there, that he did bring Akshay out there because Rohit was batting. And it's those decisions, but what was the intent? And sometimes, Akshay, you look at right now how Dravid can look at the opposition number in Baz and think about going out there and literally putting the arm around the shoulder, like how Baz and Stokes have done for Ollie Pope, and be like, yeah, go and express yourself. But then it's people like Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer who actually need to do that, because if they look timid, even though they're backed, that's a big problem. So which side of the spectrum are you on? Are you team coach? Are you team players?
Again, I'll just draw an analogy from IPL for this. It's very easy to back players when you're winning. जब रिजल्ट आपके
Yeah.
फेवर में जा रहा हो तो MS धोनी ने शेन वॉटसन को बैक किया तो उसने फाइनल्स में ऐसा किया. बोलना आसान है. जब and again, so it's I wouldn't really look at it. They're being back, they're being given a long rope, they're being consistent in their thought process. That's all that matters. For me, it's process above player, process above coach. I look for processes. This is something Nikhil Bhai and we've discussed way too many times before as well. Even Nikhil Bhai, I'm 100% sure, agrees with me on this. It's all about seeing some sort of clarity. We ourselves might not agree with it, but when we see some clarity in their decision making, it makes us feel comfortable and safe in some sense. Okay, okay, boss, there is some method to this madness. Kuch chal raha hai. There is something happening, so let's just trust it. Right now, I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know what the process is. I don't know what's the scene looking like, because Shubman Gill is being backed, sure, but it's not the kind of consistency that you're looking for in terms of the kind of names you're seeing coming in. Rajat Patidar is now coming. Sarfraz Khan, after scoring so many runs, and it had to take Virat Kohli to not be available, KL Rahul to not be available, Ravindra Jadeja to not be available, for him to finally find a spot in the squad. So, which is why I'm still not sure what's happening there. As far as player or coach is concerned, I have very little to say over there. It's for me about seeing consistency in how they're looking at it as a whole, as a setup as a whole. How are they looking at this? What processes are they trying to follow? That's all I look at. And yeah, right now it's hard to look at something. And Shubhai, abhi se disclaimer de raha hu, matlab Shubhai is our colleague and also a resident Rahul Dravid fan. He's been irked a fair few times because of my sort of criticism, fair or otherwise, of Rahul Dravid. So sorry Shubhai, abhi thoda to bolna padega abhi.
Now, you see, the point is, whenever people say, about criticism about player or a coach, what you have to remember is, when you are the coach of a side that is India, is the eyeballs will always be there. So it is not going to go away. the thing that, as I just said about the reactive bit, you can take the last 4 or 5 big games examples. They waited for Travis Head. They just stuck to what they wanted to do with Travis Head. They stuck with what they want to do for Dean Elker. They got him out in the second test like that. But it took him one test to shoot. It took a hammering. In the next game, I'm sure Olipomik will get out trying to hit a reverse sweep to point. But the point is, sorry for that. I mean, point. Okay, you can't keep waiting, and that I feel is one of the biggest problems with Rahul and Rohit. K. They've waited far too much in that order.
Okay, let's see how that all trickles forward. Let's see what the series scoreline will be. We've, of course, asked you that in multiple YouTube community posts. There's a couple of new ones to check it out, so go give us some love there. And, of course, you guys are brilliant with your questions. All of these questions, including Himanshu's, unknowns, K. Singh's, will be taken in the 12th man segment later on in the show. And Ravish Singh, you have a deadly question as well, which we'll answer in the 12th man segment. So hold on to your horses. We're approaching there quickly because next up with the Monday Night Live, as you guys know, it's the best of the rest. Right, it's only fair that we start with Australia West Indies because, like I said at the top of the show, what a Sunday to remember. Absolutely brilliant. And I was not even referring to the tennis or the football, but cricket-wise, boy, won't be in safe hands. It's just remarkable. So where do we kind of... I was going to ask you not to sit on this story, but what was the most touching part of it all? So I'll start with Nikhil. For me, essentially, actually, I'll start with myself because I genuinely feel the fact that he had a broken toe and he's gone on to praise the doctor, he didn't even know he was playing. It was so crazy. The fact that he has just the modesty to love the greatest format of the game, the longest format of the game. He's 22. He's given up a job which was not paying him well. And what a story. I mean, some people on Twitter were saying, I don't know, maybe it's the athlete of the decade because it's just such a great story to do what he did against the World Test Championships in the fortress of Gabba. Fairy tales are there, Nikhil Popat. Fairy tales are there.
You can't agree more with it. I mean, this hearing you gave me goosebumps about how good and great this performance is. And see, you have to look at it from a lot of lenses in terms of a new guy on a debut series. You've started really well. You have the best batter out, first ball of your test career, and then you feel second game you are behind. It looks done. Then you have a broken toe, and then you come in. The opposition is almost there. 230 or 100 or already done. Is this 100 more? And then to take 7 wickets on the go. I mean, the last guy to take 7 wickets then was Curtly Ambrose, and he was not even born then, if I'm not wrong. So for Guy to be able to do it all by himself, and you look at him and you feel that energy. You felt that energy when he was running in, hitting that, getting people out, squaring up, which is Marsh hai, Green. Travis Head ko Yorker bhai, how is that not even a common ploy? And then for him to get it right first ball, I think it's just Test cricket needs a lot more of these. Forget performances, just characters in terms of a guy who's coming in and nobody knows about him enough, and now he's talk of everybody who's out there. So I think really, really, very, very pleasing to see that, and I think to make Brian Lara and Hooper and everybody cry, it tells you how special it would have felt for them because, again, maybe that's the plan. That's the Gabba Fortress beaching list. You have to be inexperienced. You have to have many people injured, and then you can go on and win in Australia. So maybe England, this is your mantra.
Yeah, well summed up, Nick. It makes you think, Akshay, about honestly how he had a lion heart out there. He confessed that with his captain Craig Brathwaite in the post-match press conference, and how he was relentless in terms of give me the ball, I want to get the job done for my team with a broken toe. 11.5 overs on the trot. That's not something that you'd want to do, especially if you're going 149 clicks. So jump onto this Shamar Joseph Appreciation Club like you were alluding to before, please.
Will shamelessly take credit along with Nikhil bhai ki we are looking forward to Shamar Joseph. हमने पहले बोला था. We did say that. So it's great. It's genuinely great to see him come good. Fantastic bowling, man. Like, again, not in my wildest dreams that I imagine, and this is coming from just a random cricket watcher. Now think of Shamar Joseph, who himself hasn't played a lot of cricket, is coming out of the blue, coming out of nowhere. It's not even like he was being, groomed or he was being tracked. Nothing like that. A couple of months ago, he was a nobody, just sort of, chipping his way into first class cricket, randomly gets a CPL gig, ends up winning the tournament. And then here, West Indies, this is a proper fairy tale, and this is why we love sports. In all fairness, as cliched as it sounds, this is pretty much the reason why we love watching sport. It's for stories like these that we want, that we feel motivated. Ki boss, yeah, we want to cover this. We want to sort of see more of these, and it's such a great leveler, man. It's the more I say, the less it feels, because it's just fantastic bowling. And again, not just Shamar, kudos to the entire setup. Like quite a few of them went on to say, 7 uncapped players. Names no one's even heard of. Justin Greaves, Cavum Hodge. They dropped Jason Holder. They dropped Jermaine Blackwood. Players who were their test regulars. They decided, ki boss, chuck it. Let's just go with the new squad. Let's go with youngsters. A lot of them, Kyle Mayers opted for SC20. Something a lot of people are already talking about. Ki boss, kya hone wala hai yahan pe? Like, how do you see this panning out? Probably in a few months' time, all of these players might land gigs, in all those franchise T20 leagues across the world, and they might be plying their trade for them in the future. But yeah, just great performance, man. Again, just a once in a lifetime performance by all of them. So great to watch that.
Yeah, you've spot on again with your piece over there in Shamar and the West Indies, of course. We're asking you that in terms of the Monday Night Live question tonight as well. Shamar Joseph's story to the top is the best in cricket. Do you feel that? Let us know, of course, by using the hashtag on Twitter, and get cracking on Instagram as well. Follow Akshay and Nikhil if you guys don't already. Follow me on Hegde Every Day on Instagram. There's lots of stuff to give you guys in the next 4 or 5 months, with the WPL coming. England's already started, and not to forget the IPL and the World Cup as well. Right, more on Shamar Joseph's story. And you mentioned Cavum Hodge there. I don't know if you guys saw that little fun he was having with the bail, saying TV director to umpire, can we just check the best bail angle? It was on Fox Sports Cricket's Instagram. It was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I really want to take this opportunity to, of course, show some appreciation from the comments as well. Shamar Joseph is also an example of how franchise and test cricket could coexist. He was found in the CPL and gave him some financial security to get in test cricket. I agree with you. Absolute madness from Shamar. Incredible story to share and witness. And I so get that. My touching point of Shamar Joseph is he bowled 10 overs on the trot before dinner break. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that to literally hobble off after that Mitchell Stark Yorker, he was not going to play. He was not going to, of course, make it even to the ground. Somehow his captain have convinced him to feel a third man, and then sport kicks in. And that's why sport sometimes, like Nikhil said, gives you goosebumps. And it's such a good story for the West Indies because, again, shit 2-match series. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And only time will tell how Shamar and Craig and the rest of the Caribbean boys will fare in England in June. So let's see how that all unravels. Now, speaking of Caribbean cricket, here's a face that you guys know. And I'm talking about a good friend of the channel who's going to be, according to him, and we caught up with him just before his SA20 clash because he was chuffed to bits. Here's Nikhil on West Indies win.
A monumental win for the West Indies over Australia in that Gabba test for a couple of reasons. The fact that they were able to take 7 uncapped players to Australia who had never played test cricket before, had never had that experience against the world test champions with a full strength bowling attack. I think it was one of the most remarkable wins in West Indies history. And you hear Ian Bishop, Sir Curtly Ambrose, all who were part of that win 27 years ago in Australia, they agree. Shamar Joseph, what a story. 2 years ago, he was a security officer. A year ago, made his first class debut. And just a couple of days ago, got 7 wickets at the Gabba. I really hope that that win can inspire a generation of young cricketers in the Caribbean, because obviously the T20 game has taken over. But there's clearly a lot of legacy to play for, but also a lot at stake when you tour these countries and you gain these experiences. So, really hope this can be a start of a new era in red ball cricket for the West Indies. But I want to go into so much more detail on this win and the future of the West Indies. So I'm going to be joining you guys next Monday. Tune in live.
That Out of the feet off me. You didn't give me time to finish my cucumbers and popcorn. Jesus Christ. Got caught off over there. But Nick, bro, thank you so much. And a big shout out to Navneet Krishna as well for handing out his number. So good on you, boys, because we're growing this cricket.com community and it'll be absolutely brilliant. Right. Akshay, just want to take over before I stop nibbling at my popcorn because it's kind of rude.
100%, no worries. Lots to talk about, not just Australia, West Indies, of course. There's the SA20. Okay, Avanish needs a break right now. But Nikhil bhai, we were, chatting off air. Let's talk about SA20 and what's happening, yaar. Matlab, Pal Royals, let's start with that. Like, kya laga aapko? Not just yesterday's game. In fact, the game against DSG just before that as well. Like, just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, ridiculous is the exact word because you just feel कि भाई, are they switching decks completely? I mean, in one innings it looks like, oh wow, this is great batting. Let's was a good chase, and then they're just gone in the chase. So you can't make sense of it. The same team is doing the double on the other, and it's so bizarre. I mean, no Rahman taking 5, great bowling, no doubts there. But भाई चल क्या रहा है? How do you try and make sense of how is it that on one day and Klassen तो अलग video game खेल रहा है? How is Klassen scoring 15, 7 people are not scoring that many and teams are getting bowled out in double digits and this guy is scoring 50 in 17, 18 balls. So it's just very bizarre. I think it started very normally in terms of SA20, but now it's gone into proper Jaimat Adi mode. Probably just catching up with BPL, with BBL, not BPL. BPL, I don't know how many of you are watching. It is as random as it can get. But yeah, I think that's where I think I will stop with SA20. Pata nahi kya chal raha hai, seriously.
Fair enough. Just one more point that I would love to discuss. WPL, since a lot of you are asking us, England players have announced that they might not be available because they are going to play New Zealand on the 19th of March. In case you missed it, the WPL ends on the 17th of March. The finals is supposed to be held on the 17th of March, so that'll give them a very small window to sort of fly to New Zealand. So Heather Knight, for instance, England skipper and an RCB mainstay, she's already sort of announced that she won't be a part of the upcoming WPL. RCB have announced Nadine de Klerk as her replacement. Same is the case with Lauren Bell. She's already announced that she won't be available. And Chamari Atapattu got a deserved contract. Sure, let's start with that. By no means is what I'm going to say further disrespectful of Chamari. She definitely deserves a contract. But Nikhil bhai, as a UPW fan, I think first, let me start with this. This is probably the dumbest move I've seen in WPL so far. Now, I would pass it on to you.
Please
what
explain.
do you make of that replacement?
Please explain.
Okay. They have Shweta Serawat, they have Kiran Navgire, they have Alisa Healy, they have Danny Wyatt, they have Vrinda Dinesh. 5 players who can play in the top 3, 4 of whom open. You already have this. And in terms of pacers, they have only Anjali Sarvani. Talia Migra, of course, but let's not like she's an all-rounder, she's going to play. But as pace options, they only have Anjali Sarvani, apart from, of course, Lauren Bell, who's backed out. Why would you do that? Especially when the first 10 games are going to happen in Bangalore. It's not like you can play only with spin.
You can, no? That's what happens in Bangalore. That's how they play in Bangalore. Who is the one pacer that you have for this edition? In the men's edition of the IPL, please tell me the better.
See,
I get your gist there. But the thing is, you always knew that once Shamnam Ismail was not on that roster, that they will struggle a bit. So it is pretty obvious that Talia will be used there, probably in pairing with Anjali. And then you see, the fact is they know Dipti will be the one who will be bowling the end overs. So the point is, it's not about the end overs. Yes, whenever they want to use that seaming option, now Bangalore and Delhi may definitely spin will work. So actually, if you think of it, it's not too bad because Chamari will give you that option with the ball as well. So it's again Chamari ka class और ये compare नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं, but I think there is still a lot to work with because of the 2 venues. Now, had this been some other venue and the condition, because Bangalore also the last T20 that we saw, it did start very weirdly. To be very, very honest in that sense. So I'm not saying it will definitely work, but it is something that they don't think they needed a lot of. They also have Lauren Bell, right?
No, Lauren Bell backed out. And Chamari Atapattu has come in as her replacement.
Sorry,
and
Bell, of course, yeah.
So, and to be honest, we've still not considered the option that Sophie Eccleston herself might back out. If that happens, UPW are in shambles, in all fairness, because there's nothing.
maybe then they'll replace her with a pacer. Maybe that is the plan. Who knows? Maybe it's not out
वाह
yet, and
भाई,
they are
निखिल
finalizing.
भाई को अभी समझ आ
4D
रहा है
chess.
आरसीबी फैन होने का मतलब क्या होता है अभी. Now
4D
Nikhil
chess.
भाई is understanding exactly.
Right. 1 second. Let me just jump in here because I've just been hearing noise for the last 2 minutes. WPL be
Ar-
hosted in just Maharashtra, right? Just when you change, yes, Delhi and Bangalore, Himanshu. We're going to be doing fan cams in Bangalore, and we're going to be doing all the watch alongs with Akshay and a couple of stellar girls indeed. Right. Before that, let's move on from WPL to BPL because Akshay has a great quiz tonight, which he'll showcase in just a bit. But Shoaib Malik fixing allegations. 1 second. I just want to get that out. Akshay, explain to me and the viewers what happened and when did this take place?
This happened day before yesterday, day 3 of India England. This is how I remember it. So that's Saturday. And what happened was initially news reports came out that the owner of Fortune Baraishal, who basically, I mean, who had contracted Shoaib Malik for the ongoing season, had suspended his contract and asked them to sort of, go out of the tournament midway. This was the initial report. And along with it came, sort of follow-up reports. Ki, the 3 no balls that happened the day before, something that went viral on social media. Ki ek hi over mein, Shoaib Malik went on to bowl 3 huge no balls. And so a lot was made of it. So when you see these reports, it's not hard for people to just 2 and 2 equals 4, just not add it up and say, ha boss, okay, this probably had something to do with that. And apparently the owner himself had gone on record on news channels saying that, this someone has to look into it. I'll probably complain to the ACB head of the BPL, what's happening and all of that. Cut to a day later, they've reneged on this. The Fortune Baraishal owner has gone back on his statement. And in fact, Shoaib Malik himself came up with an official statement saying that he had to go travel to Dubai for a pre-scheduled assignment or something, like a media commitment. That's how he put it. And he'd already communicated this with their team skipper Tamim Iqbal, and they also put out a video with the Fortune Baraishal team owner saying that don't look too much into it. There are no such allegations. Shoaib Malik is a team player and he was with the team, and he informed us earlier on that this is going to happen and he needs to travel to Dubai. So funnily enough, I'm not sure if this is the most controversial thing that we've heard of Shoaib Malik in the last week, but sure, let's go ahead with that for now.
I like it. Right, let us know what else you guys want to, of course, talk about in Best of the Rest. We still have time in this particular segment because there is time to show you guys the weekly newsletter. Nandan Kumar, why the hell are you guys talking about cricket? Shitty game. Ouch, man. I'm so hurt that you really criticized the gentleman's game. If you don't want to watch us, just piss off somewhere else. Honestly, I'm tired of you guys. What about the weekly newsletter? Let's have it. The 29th January edition. And there's Shamar Joseph, Ollie Pope, and Avanish Hegde, as you can see, as Graeme Swann called it. The edition of this one, it's out now on the website and the app. And there's a lot of things that we discussed on the field and, of course, off it as well. We've spoken about a whole host of things. If we haven't spoken about it, we'll speak it about now. Remember, the Under-19 World Cup as well. And this is why I love the newsletter, because it kind of just makes us think about the week gone by. Steve Stokes, lads, did you see that little clip of the ICC and how he was plundering sixes for fun? Nix, I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those perks of having so much cricket that you are unable to catch some things live, but thanks for that technology that we can now catch up on stuff online. Lots of talent and lots of bright stars coming through. We talked about one from South Africa already in the past, the guy with a lot of Yorkers ready, and now you have this coming through as well. It just gives you a lot of good vibes that you could have a lot more such talent coming through. And because you see, a lot of these under 19 folks do make it to the national side. You have had the previous batch also coming through. So very keen to see how, because I just want to not really name and just jump on the train just immediately as of now, because we have also heard of the other side of the story where it doesn't go to plan. So as of now, I'm just wanting to be on the fence, thinking, okay, hopefully all of them get the right chances to go ahead. And definitely with so much cricket happening, we'll see a lot more of them.
Okay, Akshay, I think there is more to, of course, look at the weekly newsletter because various bunch of tweets we put out of course, the latest from the world of cricket. So go check that out. And also, we've updated the points table and showing you how it stands right now in terms of the WTC. So lots more to really love on cricket.com. And you guys can get interactive over there as well, especially in social media handles. So get cracking. I'll take some comments right now, but what was I going to talk about next? Yeah, I think just before we finish, Santosh Sharma referring to, a good day for South African women against Australian women. I think in Canberra, appeared to the scorecard yesterday, and a 6-wicket win, right, Akshay?
Yeah, Laura Wolfart coming good for them again. A very good, very solid 50. In all fairness, मैं तो खाली follow कर रहा था Nadine Nikhil कैसे खेल रही है, just to see कि is she doing well, is she not doing well? She did do well. 1 for 25, 4 overs. I'm happy with how she's done. That's all I could personally care about. But yeah, good signs for South Africa. Again, they have a solid unit, man. It's not like there's nothing new to sort of be surprised about. I mean, why are we surprised? I wouldn't call it an upset because if I'm not wrong, Santosh had called it an upset earlier on in the show. Santosh bhai, South Africa have a solid lineup. If anything, they are top contenders for the upcoming T20 World Cup as well. We saw how good they were in the previous edition. So yeah, Chloe Tryon also aggressive, very aggressive, lower down the order. Abhi Nadine de Klerk bolna padega. Marizan Kaap, how can we forget her? Of course, the ever dependable all-rounder, number 3 pick, and of course 4 overs, bankable. So yeah, lots to look forward to when it comes to the South African setup.
Okay, super. I think we've covered a whole lot of talking points in this week's MNL, right from India, England, Australia, West Indies, the BPL, the I'll Take 20. I think Nick shed a little bit light on that. And Max Bojo, excellent question. We'll, of course, answer this in the 12th man segment, which is going to be very, very shortly. But right up next is Akshay's time in the sun. I say sun, even though it's a Monday Night Live. I don't know what I'm saying. But you know what I mean. Let's get to How's That? Right, Akshay, take it away. And last week, what was it? And tell me who won it. Who was the lucky winner?
There we go, yeah. Last week, again, sticking to the theme, Deccan Chargers, Delhi Daredevils, Mumbai Indians, Sunrisers, Hyderabad. These were the 4 franchisees this particular player had played for. And like I've said before, again, just to be clear, these are just arranged chronologically. Of course, a lot of you know that because clearly a lot of you are getting the answers right. So that's a good sign. And yeah, the correct answer is JP Dumini. So kudos to everyone who got it. But Nitish Tongia is the winner of the voucher. So congratulations, Nitish Tongia, for winning yourself a voucher. So do get in touch with us on Twitter. And yeah, we'll ensure that the voucher reaches you ASAP. Coming to this week, yeah, these are the franchisees this respective player has played for. This player has played for Deccan Chargers, Delhi Capitals, Delhi Daredevils, Mumbai Indians, Punjab Kings, and the Sunrisers Hyderabad. That's a whole lot of franchisees. Let's see if you get the player. Again, wait for the live chat to end. Wait for the live stream to end, rather. Not live chat, of course. Wait for the live stream to end. Do not plug in your answers in the live chat. Please do that in the main comment section once the live stream is ended, or else your answers won't be considered. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how many of you get it this time around. And yeah, there you go.
Okay, brilliant. I think I know the answer to that, but I won't be playing party pooper over there. ILT20, WPL crossover conversation via Sharjah spelled Warriors and UP spelled Warriors. It's just about putting in different... Acha lagta hai, but also different offshore accounts. You never know.
Oh, wow.
In terms of the financial purposes and names.
The same. I was going to say the same reason why LSG is called Lucknow Super Giants and DSG is called Durbin's Super Giants. No reason. Kar diya bas. Khatam.
Interesting. There was also a rising Super Giant name change, na?
Yeah, Super Giants to Super Giant.
Giant. English
indeed. Right, so that was Akshay's little quiz. Let us know, like he said, in the comments after the live show. Time for you guys to, of course, be answered to, because we love doing that. We're building a cricket.com community unlike anything before. We're 44.3k now. If you guys are watching this, please subscribe to us, because Akshay pointed out a fantastic stat in the India-England test match. And it was not about Pope. It was not about Hartley. It was not about KL. It was at cricket.com. Because 50% of y'all do follow us, but don't subscribe. What is going on? That is livid. That is blasphemous. Do it. If you hate this shirt, do it. If you really like the fact that we had Swanny on, do it, because we're going to get Darren Goff next week. You heard it here first. And look, I'm not going to reveal the cat out of the bag this time, but a certain Mike Gibson's also popping up. Anyway, if you guys heard that, you heard that. Right, time for the last one, 12th man segment. Let's get it done and dusted with. Right, lots of questions to adhere to. Let's get straight into it, of course. And I'll start with some of the ones that we received earlier, which I did say that we'll take. Who do I start with this time around? I think I know who that person could be. And eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a comment by its toe. And if he cries, let's answer him in the end. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just looking for the best one. Right. Ramana Kiran. Let's go with them. We see several modern batsmen falter time and again to similar deliveries, unaltered techniques, example Gill. I would say survival first, shots next. So what do you look for in a test quality technique? Nikhil?
I'm not going to be technical because I'm not a technical coach. But what I look for in any batter, in any format, is the ease with which he or she is able to execute what are his best shots, what are their best shots. And that probably at times gives you enough hints in terms of, okay, what is it that the batter likes to do the most? Is it blocking? Is it finding ways to find the gaps to rotate? Or is it the big shots? Now, you look at a class N and you feel, okay, great. He can pull anything for six. He can drive well, he can loft well, he can pull well. Oh, a lot of options there. But then you look at a different person, you look at Travis Head, you're like, okay, he loves width. Okay, different person, he's not that great at pull, but if he gets in, he could really pull you well. So it's about, it's very individual. I think this is the thing that they call the eye test. Many people look at different things and they pick up different things in terms of what positions he's getting into and all of that. What I look at is comfort at the crease. And if whatever is thrown at the batter, what is it that makes them find a way to it? So I think that to me is the simplest way of feeling good or very confident about that person. With Gill, because you've taken that name, at this point of time, I don't think he's playing his best possible game because he looks very tentative. He looks probably searching for that boundary. And you sometimes feel this with Rahane as well, that when he's new to the crease, he's looking for that early boundary. Once that is done, they probably settle into a better rhythm. So I think there are different things that work for different batters. I look for very good presence at the crease, and that involves a lot of things. Yeah. Oh, Shabash, we have the routine check done.
Damn it.
Nicely done.
I said some key observations there, Nix. I like the way you started answering that question by saying you're not the best technical guy because, look, let's face it, none of us are, even though we played the game here and there, but we can only second guess. But you've hit the nail right on the head there with Gill. But thanks for that question, Ramana. Jaydeep, I'm going to give this one to Akshay. New Zealand versus South Africa, new team, new players. Another upset coming, you reckon, Akshay? What is that? I mean, 3rd Feb, right, is the first test?
3rd or was it 5th? If I'm not okay, I'm not sure. One of the odd dates. But upset or not, I'm hoping for a good, solid encounter. If there's one thing that this West Indian side has shown us, that as long as you have, like, if you are sort of giving or putting up a good fight, yeah, you're good to go. And looking forward to seeing. Yeah, David Bedingham. For a second, I completely blanked out on the name. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how he leads the side. Again, not to forget, since a lot of you have mentioned, what, all these franchise leagues are taking over and all of that. He let go of an SA20 contract. He had been offered one apparently by the DSC. He let go of it to be a part of the test side. So there you go. It's not always the case that franchise leagues take over. So looking forward to seeing how he plays, because genuinely, like, what I saw of him, looked very comfortable, looked very at ease, and long time coming in terms of his test debut. So yeah, let's hope that he also sort of builds on his career, so to speak.
Okay, betting him that 56 he got against India is something that even I remember. Himanshu going on to say Bashir to take place of Rehan, or they will give Leach the rest. Nix, what's your hunch?
I think Bashir will definitely play. They would love if they can do a double already and just put a lot of pressure on India. It depends on Leach entirely in terms of what's the injury status. I don't think we've heard anything about him, right, in terms of how serious that injury is. So I think they'll probably wait on him, and they could simply replace Bashir with they replace Rehan with Bashir and play the same combination. I feel Wood will not play, and it could be one of Anderson or Robinson, but I think it could entirely be a call that they make depending on the death.
Interesting. Darshan saying, who would you bring in to replace Siraj if drop? Is it safe to go with Bumrah as a sole seamer? We, of course, did shed light in this, Darshan, at the top of the show with all three of our 11s. We've given justifications over there. Obviously, we have certain things that we'd like to say in terms of a wish list and seeing how India kind of go with right personnel. But there's also a little bit of realism involved in terms of our picks. Let's see, of course, what else we can dish out from such lovely viewers in the comments right now, because ultimately I'm not just saying that to, of course, cheer you guys up, but I'm honestly saying that because sometimes I genuinely lose some of the questions I really want to take through. Rohan Patel just being absolutely ridiculous is all the time. Honestly, it's crazy, man. It's just crazy how we have such great conversations, like Shubham says, but you look at my fingers, you're honestly having a laugh. I wanted to give you one, Akshay. Which was that? Sorry, I know I'm just going through quite a bit. Here it is. Himanshu again. Rahul Jadeja out of the second test. Are we seeing another possible loss? What is your prediction? And do you think we'll go 2-0 down? Hopefully not, right?
So yesterday when we gave out our predictions, I know Nikhil bhai remembers what I predicted, and given this recent update, I'm sort of on course, on track. In terms of my prediction coming good. So I predicted India to go down 2-0. They lose the second test at Vizag. Virat Kohli will come back, like you mentioned, Avanish, will rejuvenate the side, will come up with a couple of really good batting performances, and India will win the series 3-2. This will make for great viewing because this means the final game would be a decider at Dharamshala, a venue that will suit both sides. It's not a venue that traditionally has sort of served or dished out drank turners. So it'll be great, or rather it'll make for great viewing. So yeah, I'm hoping that it comes true and it comes in that order.
Okay. Casing going heads on spikes if you go 2-0 down. Wow, unbelievable. And Max, yeah, it's time to take that question, which I did say was cracking. I think even Ravish had a really good question. Now he goes on to say, do we think that the ICC needs to step in and ensure that struggling nations like Australia and India receive the help that they need in order to find... What?
Mr. Avanish Hegde, I
What?
love it. I love
What?
it that you...
Do you not sense like how seriously I'm playing this?
No, I
We know
refuse to
exactly
believe you
what
know the
happened.
correct No, I refuse
Exactly.
to believe you know the correct pronunciation. I refuse to believe you genuinely thought it's Ravish, and it isn't. I'm pretty sure. Ravish, please confirm. And the first time is what made you think someone would name the child Ravish Singh? Oh my!
It's Ravish. Ravish. It's ravishingly good, man. It's a good
It's
name.
not ravishing. It's not a pun on ravishing, if that's what you thought.
Look, at the end of the day, Ravish, apologies, because even my name is really tarnished with over the years, over the times. Avinash is what I get called and slandered for. People call me Vanish. People call me Vanish. I mean, hopefully they don't want me to actually do that. But speaking of that, really appreciate all you guys joining us. And we'll leave you on that chuckle because honestly, what better way to end the show? I know there are more questions coming through, but that's all we have time for in this Monday Night Live. Thank you so much, Akshay and Nikhil. It's been great chatting with you guys and a whole host of things. Lots more to love on cricket.com. Go check out all our fan cams that we did in Hyderabad. Some amazing Barmy Army fan reactions and just the bits and the works over there. There is going to be a classics episode coming out tomorrow. And before the Friday test, we will probably have more sumptuous content, including the cricket.com act and much more. Do follow us on Instagram, of course, on X and YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button right now because it does help us with the algorithm. And like Akshay has been doing, he's putting all of it on Spotify for all you listeners out there as a podcast. Go check that out because I know all you lovers have Spotify for your music. Just give cricket.com a follow over there. It will help us, and of course, big up on the community. That's all I have time for and words for. Guys, enjoy the rest of the week. All you beautiful people. We'll leave it there. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Where is my cucumber, man? Jesus.